The YouTube video speech document of the stimulus to revolt in 2020 for you to grab a divinely peaceful and fabulous new world. Enough is enough of Yankee and Jew dominance in our world, and there is much more. And therefore, let's revolt in 2020. I promise you a rose garden. My dear friends, I welcome you to this stimulus to revolt in 2020 for you to grab a fabulous new world. I am Vijuva Senaratna, a retired banker from Sri Lanka. It is needless to mention the fact that I am a totally unknown person coming to the world stage. But this video could change that overnight dramatically. So be it, for your own sake, because I am going to salvage humanity from destruction. Well, my dear friends, I am the world's latest political philosopher and the best one of them all to give you a divinely peaceful and fabulous new world. That is my pledge to you, since I wanted to make your life serene and joyous ever since my early childhood, some 6 decades ago. I beg you to forgive me for my delay, because an untold number of innocent people, and they being your loved ones, have perished at the hands of the idiots who govern this world without understanding or disregarding the value of human lives while I was getting ready to serve you. And those innocent lives that are lost are a pain and a shame I got to live with. I love you so, ever since I perceived the world around me in my childhood. The world is burning in every respect from our inception due to our ignorance, foolishness and cruelty, especially since there is no proper governing system in the world. Although branded as intelligent beings and wearing fancy clothes, we behave like hyenas. We have invented all sorts of destructive weapons to kill fellow humans and already have a shocking record in that respect. Thus, our intelligence is a destructive element where life has emerged by being based on desire, and in us human beings, life has let desire loose unbounded in order to let us chase after our unbounded desires and get intelligent in the process. Thus we became intelligent individually, and therefore to different levels. That is why yours truly is a genius when you are not. Out of jokes though, because I shall be giving you a fabulous new world that not even your gods could give you. Well, giving intelligence to a creature given by unbounded desire obviously has dire consequences, as evident in the world. And that is where karma exists as universal justice. But those who believe in a bogus God's creation without even knowing what exactly is life their God created commit all sorts of crime, and thus the destructive war machine keeps rolling, especially because there is no true authority in the world to tame or control the mad dogs. Now I shall destroy this disgusting, absurd, atrocious world that doesn't pay any respect to human lives and create a divinely peaceful and fabulous new world. Not in millennia though, or even in centuries or decades, but during this very year 2020. In a first ever massive and peaceful world revolution, for its aftermath has already been planned silently but intricately during the past few decades. Therefore, please don't give me reason to drag the creation of your fabulous new world beyond this year, since it is in your hands. The world belongs to you, my dear friends, and that is not only according to my philosophy, but it is also the eternal truth that exists. Therefore, I have developed my philosophy and a new system of government based on my philosophy to crown you the king or the queen in the world you inherited by birth. Thus, all the existing so-called monarchs will be dethroned to establish people's sovereignty in their world. My philosophy is the much needed humanitarianism, dubbed rightfully in my name as Senaism, since humanitarianism is quite a mouthful. Well, for the much needed system change, the whole world will be united under a world government, represented by elected members, represented by an elected member from each country. They are the only politicians in the world, but certainly not in today's terms. The destructive present political systems are thrown out of the world for good. Politicians are the troublemakers in the world, and therefore they are thrashed out of the world. We can do better without them. Giving authority to individuals to govern countries is a disgustingly stupid, destructive system, and we have experienced the dire consequences throughout history. Most people can't handle authority or power without losing their head. It is a human problem, since we are driven by unbounded desire. Thus, no more lousy, egocentric jokers called politicians in your world. You don't need anybody to represent you anymore. And instead, you can run your world with almost your direct involvement in this advanced world, especially since I am behind it. Boasting am I? A bit maybe, but don't tell anyone, okay? Since the nasty jokers called politicians are thrashed out of the whole world could be disarmed easily, and it is a must and quite important to do urgently. Achieving that unbelievable, never even imagined being possible task makes Senaism the most ingenious invention of all time, as well as a truly divine doctrine on my undying love for humanity. The madness of killing each other is shocking to have lasted for so long in the world. It shows how idiotic and cruel the so-called intelligent being is. Therefore, the swollen-headed politicians not being there anymore to come out with their filthy pump-action shotguns in hand and shouting to kill each other is a blessing to all mankind, since they don't become the innocent victims of the destructive drama in the world anymore. The drama itself is kaput. However, the only hitch I have in going ahead is that my father was not the king, and therefore you need to fund the project to organize the world revolution. I am not asking for donations. That is not me. Instead, I will make available this written YouTube video speech stimulus for you to Revolt as a downloadable document for $1, especially because by discussing most of the vital aspects, it is a mile long. I only voiced a part of it. So, presenting the written speech as a document for downloading is the best way for you to go through it at your leisure to understand the need for the world revolution. It won't cost you an arm and a leg, but only a peanut called a dollar. Just $1 and nothing more. Please know that it is your contribution for the creation of your fabulous new world for which you will be proud. Nevertheless, although this video is purposely made short, the longer version is also there for those who have time to spend to understand why we must revolt to grab a better world. The world is in a great destructive and disgusting jumble. Therefore, the world has become an appalling place to live, and we ourselves are responsible to have created that situation. With our excessive greed and foolishness, thus the situation in the world is volatile and getting worse every minute. The latest news in early 20s is drawing our attention to America's conflict with Iran after killing an Iranian general in the first week of January 2020. Politicians have no authority to kill. Thus, it was murder. War is an enormous crime, and thus the swollen-headed politicians should not disregard the value of human life and the people's welfare. But the idiots don't seem to care, and therefore there are three utmost reasons for a world revolution to erupt, and out of which the damn Yankee menace that we have to deal with every day, since their destructive push is felt a long time ago with the inception, is no doubt the most urgently needed to be eradicated menace we have in the world. From the other two reasons, the destructive system of governing the countries in the world by ridiculously elected individual politicians who immediately become like monarchs in their lands with their stupid egos to bring destruction to their people and make the whole world a great jumble with conflicts with other nations that has led to many nasty wars that massacred millions of innocent lives and has destroyed a great deal of properties in the world, including irrevocable damages to the ecosystem as well, which must be stopped happening ever again, since the swollen beasts are now armed with highly destructive nuclear weapons capable of destroying the whole world. Stop press. If any war erupts from now on, before the world revolution, the culprits responsible for the war will be tried for murder, and their countries must pay compensation for any deaths and injuries suffered by all living beings, and also for property damage, and a hefty fine for disturbing the peace in the world. That justice will ruin any nations involved in a war. So, idiots beware. Well, surely the bloody destructive politics have gone too far and therefore must be dumped immediately for mankind to live in peace and harmony. Immense prosperity will come along with our peace and harmony, since the astronomical amount of money spent on keeping the war machine rolling is no more. Those who love humanity will understand that divine concept to be enforced in the world for the benefit of all humanity. The present Yankee dominance in the world is also due to the ridiculous system developed from our earlier system of governance, paving the way. Thus, a brilliant, foolproof system that establishes the people's sovereignty and gets them to run their world by themselves according to their collective agreement is needed for mankind's utmost preservation. And yours truly, Viduba Senaratna, as sent to you, my dear friends, being a retired banker and the world's latest political philosopher, to create a divinely peaceful and fabulous new world where everybody thought world peace is an impossible dream, is armed with a divine doctrine created by him for the job, and it was developed through 6 decades of his torturous human bondage, which engulfed his tender heart at the tender age of 8 in 1956. And now ready to create you a peaceful and fabulous new world that he would call the Rose Garden. And yet it will be paradise anew to you. So be it, my dear friends. I love you so, ever since my childhood. Therefore, please accept the fabulous new world that I shall create as my humble gift to your humanity, to live happily forevermore. Under my political philosophy, Senaism, ridiculous representative democracy is replaced with a brilliant new system which will establish the people's sovereignty for good and eliminate the need for the so-called politicians to run the countries. They are the troublemakers in the world, and therefore they are made redundant. So the world will be like a driverless car, is it, my friends? Well, the world has almost 8 billion drivers, and all what is needed is giving them the license to drive their world, and that license is called their sovereignty in their world. Well, in order to fix a great jumble, an amazing solution is needed. And since the solution is changing the ridiculous governing systems concerning the whole world, the ultimate authority gained from a world revolution is needed. And therefore, in a world revolution, the whole world will be united under a world government, represented by a single elected member in each country. And the world government will put forward a master plan by consulting the people for managing the whole world alike, and pick and choose capable people from each country and form what is coined as companies of country management, and commission them to plan and run the countries according to people's wishes and to the master plan of the world government, which has been approved by the people. Thus, no jokers could ever be your rulers ever again to make life miserable in the world. The commission members of the CCMs can be hired and fired by the world government according to their performance and conduct. So, unlike with the present system, no swollen-headed idiots could emerge in the new system. Further, the individual plans for the development of countries put forward by the companies of country management, by consulting the people, will have to be approved first by the world government and finally by the people. That way, nothing the people do not like will ever happen in their world because the new system draws people's participation in planning the development of their countries. That eliminates an undesirable thing happening anywhere in the world, and the people will be quite satisfied of the new system. Further, there is no such thing called governing the world in order to uphold people's sovereignty. Thus, instead of governing, the countries and the world as a whole will be managed. The way the ballot is used is also changed to be constructive. No more party politics, people voting for idiots, crooks, and jokers turn politicians to run their countries is no more. And instead, they will first give their feedback to their CCM to initially plan the management of their country according to the master plan of the world government. And when the plan is approved by the world government, people will also have to approve the plan for their country in order for the CCM to go ahead and implement the plan. That way, people's sovereignty is upheld, and people are actively participating in running their countries and the world as a whole. Please read about my political philosophy and the system in detail from my book titled I Promise You a Rose Garden. Sanaism will create a divinely peaceful and fair, serene world for you to live happily till death do us part. Now the third reason why we must do a world revolution is to rectify a great blunder committed, of course unwittingly, when we colonized the planet as early humans. Although committed unwittingly, our biggest mistake was coming out of Africa and colonizing the planet which belongs to all mankind. But at the time, it was perfectly alright. And it is perfectly alright for everybody else except for yours truly, because it poses a great injustice to all mankind, since there is no fair distribution of wealth from natural resources found in the planet that basically belongs to all mankind. The planet is not just the land and what is on it, but also what is beneath the surface of the land. However, in the beginning, when people were settling down in various parts of the world according to their choice, they had no clue at all of what lies beneath the surface of the land. They chose to settle down. So where did we go wrong to end up in a massive jumble? Well, we went wrong from our very inception, when the early humans were spreading throughout the planet. And unfortunately, it is an aspect that did not so far draw any attention of any other human being other than me. And that vital aspect is our colonization of the planet, as the early humans were spreading throughout the planet and settling down wherever they want. It was a spontaneous happenstance, and now a factor in our primitive epoch, preventing the fair distribution of the wealth found in the land from natural resources. But nobody was at fault with the choice of land to settle down, especially because the planet belongs to everybody born on it, and nobody in the primitive world knew on what their choice of land is sitting on. Therefore, what is beneath the surface of the land was not a factor for our ancestors to choose land. However, according to the according to choice of their land, people were unwittingly standing on vast oil fields, gas fields, coal mines, diamond mines, gold mines, and even land mines. And so, well, it wasn't a joke, and I mean nature's landmines. They are the earthquake prone land. I have some experience in that respect while living in New Zealand. Fortunately, the land didn't open up or erupt under my feet while I was there, and here I am, still alive and live and kicking. So certain countries have become quite wealthy due to the vast fields of natural resources found beneath the surface of their land. Nevertheless, there is no fair distribution of wealth among the people even within such countries, let alone sharing their wealth with the rest of the countries in the world. For instance, the oil-rich Arabian nations' wealth is grabbed by their rulers, and therefore the general public is still poor. This is a massive irregularity. We know how the so-called rulers or monarchs emerged from among the ordinary people in the bygone day, and now all that history is forgotten, but not by me. So my philosophy and the system will abolish monarchism in the whole world and even acquire their vast wealth to be shared by the people, because their wealth is a massive loot accumulated over so many decades and centuries. Helping their vast wealth to share by the people is not only something necessary, but also a wholesome karma that I shall be committing given the state of the dire world. So now you can understand why exactly we need the magic wand called the world revolution to rectify all our blunders, to put our world in perfect order, for us to live happily ever after, and thus I declare that the greatest turning point in the human history has arrived. Especially since we have had enough of foolish and destructive politics and sadistic economics of corrupt, egocentric individuals called politicians. Now it is time to make them redundant. We shall not let any cunning crooks to ruin the world anymore, because it is our world and we the people own the world, and therefore we cannot let any madness which affects our lives prevail in the world any longer, as we must take over the management of our world. Thus the first ever world revolution is looming to create a peaceful and fair, fabulous new world, which I call a rose garden with my romanticism, and yet it will be paradise anyway to you. Excuse me. The revolution will be a peaceful exercise to get rid of the pest with our unity and create a peaceful and fair, fabulous new world, where poverty, the shame on our intelligence and fairness doesn't exist. I will show the world the brilliance of human intelligence. I shall give you a fair new world magically to begin with in less than 10 seconds in my inaugural speech after the successful world revolution. Of course, we can live in a fabulous new world, if not for some nasty guys with stupendous greed among us wanting to conquer the world. How the hell anybody could think of dominating in the world that belongs to all mankind? Now they are sadly mistaken, stupid mortals. Everybody in the world must agree to live in harmony with others, sharing the world. Who are the nasty guys in the world who pose a threat or unfairness to the rest of the humanity? Well, they are the notorious Yankees and the Jews. While the Yankees are boisterous and pushy in dominating and looting the world, the Jews do it silently as the leeches suck your blood. Well, let's take up the greatest bloody menace we have in the world ever since the so-called USA got their independence from Britain in 1776. The Yankees are the descendants of convicted criminals dumped in America as a penal colony by the British since 1610 AD. True to their nasty character, the criminal Americans killed an untold number of original Americans, the Aborigines of America, calling them Red Indians, to grab their land and soon spat on their motherland to get independent and formed the so-called United States of America. And ever since, the new Americans wanting to dominate in the world have become the nastiest guys in the world with their lack of respect for humanity and of course without any self-respect either due to their criminal ancestry. They have an insatiable, stupendous greed for power and wealth, and chasing after their insatiable thirst from their inception. The inhuman Yankees have invaded many nations by disregarding the international law or the laws of society, and without any respect for innocent human lives. That is absurd, disgraceful and disgusting. After the mass-scale invasion of Vietnam in the 60s that killed tens of millions of innocent people and begot a generation of people with various disabilities to this day due to the inhuman use of chemical weapons, the shameless bloody Yankee beast, still had the courage to invade Chile in 1973 and Iraq in 2003 with the false accusation of Saddam Hussein having weapons of mass destruction, and they were never found. But the murderous beast, responsible for hundreds of thousands of innocent Iraqis' death, George W. Bush and his British pal Tony Blair, are still at large and galloping away happily. Where's our justice, my friends? What a shame on these spineless, lousy politicians in this world. There being no true justice in the world makes the so-called politicians in the world over nothing but pathetic jokers with hidden agendas. I said pathetic because they are nothing but the blue flies attracted to a heap of faces. That is, what is more, the criminal-minded Americans have invaded 70 nations since their independence from Britain in 1776. Thus the avoidable death toll, if not for these criminals, is 1.3 billion. Mind you, 1.3 billion people have been massacred over the years. What an enormous crime is that. We must immediately stop America trying to dominate in the world. Now the criminal-minded Yankees are using different tactics to invade the third world countries by bribing the traitors in politics in such countries and getting them to agree on 3 devious agreements such as AXA, SOFA an MCC which would facilitate the American forces to creep into sorry, other countries for their own interests. I cannot explain these devious agreements in order to make this video short, and kindly ask you to read my written speech document to understand them, or by any other means. There can be no benefit to any country from its armed forces involvement in hostile acts against friendly nations for American preservation. What a lousy joke is. AXA, SOFA and MCC violate the sovereignty of a country that agrees to them, and undermine the ability to fulfill its international obligations to protect its population. Why should any country dance according to the lousy American jokers' tune? What is their filthy desire to dominate in the world? They bribe the traitors in the world to push their way through in the world. That is disgusting and shameless behavior. What are they taking with them when they are finally buried a few feet underground? The idiots must let go of the illusory gods and learn a bit of Buddhism to salvage their lives in samsara, the recurring series of life that never ends, rather than ending up in heaven after committing all sort of bad karma. Only idiots go to heaven, my friends. Everybody else will be born wherever life exists, and that will be decided by one's conduct in life, and the residuum of your good and bad karma will decide your next birth and place. So if you like to avoid to be born in a septic tank in your next life, you got to work on it now itself. Yankees, and for that, no point in going to any church, guys. I will explain you the advice given by the Buddhas for you to follow, and you don't have to become a Buddhist to follow the simple advice. I will first say it in the Buddha's language, Pali, and explain the meaning in English for you guys. Sabba papassa akaranam kusalassa upasampada sachitta paryodapanam etang buddhanusasanam. It is poetic. It says, keep away from all evil, cultivate good, and purify one's mind, is the advice of all Buddhas. How is that advice against the ridiculous advice you would receive to have faith in God in order to end up in heaven after death? Very simple, idiotic strategy, isn't it? Since God is a hoax, there is no worthy doctrine on God-based religions other than the book of lies called the Bible, written by the shrewd to deceive you. Well, up until now, nobody except yours truly understands what life really is and how life emerged spontaneously. Buddhism is a brilliant philosophy for your salvation rather than a religion, where you hang on to your faith in God to get to heaven. The Buddha compared this Dhamma, the doctrine, to a raft that one would use to get to the other side of the river. That is the only purpose of a raft. Nobody takes the raft home. Buddhism is also like a raft. You use it to overcome the dukkha. That means sorrow. And sorrow is the eternal truth about life, no matter how rich you are. I will briefly explain the Buddhist doctrine of the conditions genesis, which explains the interdependence of life from birth to death, and it brilliantly explains how life emerges where everything is conditioned by another instead of there being a first cause for you to emerge magically from nowhere. The doctrine simply proves how brilliant Buddhism is. Dr. Valpala Rahula wrote in his book What the Buddha Taught, page 53, on this principle of conditionality, relativity and interdependence, the whole existence and continuity of life and its cessation are explained in a detailed formula which is called Patikka Samupada in Pali and conditioned genesis in English, consisting of 12 factors. 1. Through ignorance are conditions, the 2 volitional actions of karma formations. 3 is through volitional actions is conditioned consciousness. Number 4, through consciousness are conditioned mental and physical phenomena. 5th one is through mental and physical phenomena are conditioned the 6 faculties. That is 5 physical sense organs and the mind. Number 6 is through the 6 faculties is conditioned sensorial and mental contact. 7 is through sensorial and mental contact is conditioned sensation. 8. Through sensation is conditioned desire, thirst. 9 is through desire, thirst is conditioned clinging. Number 10, through clinging is conditioned the process of becoming. 11 is through the process of becoming is conditioned birth. Number 12, through birth are conditioned decay, death, lamentation, pain, etc. That explains how life arises, exists and continue. Although the factors are not too difficult to understand, those who have no idea of what karma is or means may wonder what the hell it is. For them, I may have given the glimpse of the raft prematurely. But don't panic. There is nothing that cannot be fixed. So is the promised land problem. As given in the first factor, volition itself is karma. Volition is the mental ability of exercising the will. In plain English, it is one's will that arises with determination. Thus, volition is the faculty of exercising the will. So I have gone a long way off-road by trying to give a worthy advice to our Yankee brethren. But the trip is worth the trouble since I am sure they have never heard anything like it. They will also learn a bit more from my books, and that is enough to give the taste of a good thing one must know in life. Now let's get back to the ugly business of discussing politics. We were discussing the Americans' indecent push to get their devious agreements signed by the third world nations. While dominating and looting the world in another way, so silently on the other hand are the Jews. They silently looted the world to the tune of over $500 trillion during the past century. This could be a major factor, if not the sole factor, in the poverty-driven world. With half of that money, we could easily wipe out poverty in the world. So let's take these bulls by the horns since we can't afford them both. Well, whatever said and done, we have human hearts, unlike the Yankees, and at least I do, since I grew up learning the magnificent Buddhist doctrine, and therefore I am willing to give you guys a chance to reform and develop human qualities rather than trying to behave like hyenas. So be human, Yankee and Jew brothers. We still love you and consider you as human beings. That is our stance. So don't try to act differently. Nevertheless, it must be said that you guys are the culprits for making the world a great jumble in every respect due to your stupendous greed for power and wealth. We have hard facts on that. The Yankees have a stupendous thirst for power and wealth so that they are not prepared to respect others' rights and they want everything for themselves. Thus, they are always ready to attack. They are a militarized nation and therefore their president is the commander-in-chief, ready to give the order to strike even from his toilet seat. That shows they have no respect for humanity. They have enormous armed forces compared to the rest of the countries. Why is that? They have over 2.1 million personnel, military personnel, and a $716 billion massive defense budget to maintain their position in the world. And for that, they have a massive amount of war machinery that includes almost 14,000 aircraft, 2,362 fighters, and attack aircraft, helicopters, attack helicopters, submarines, frigates, destroyers, aircraft carriers, that means aircraft carrying huge ships, 1,056 rocket propellers for multiple launch rocket system, and unlike many other nations, they have the untold number of nasty nuclear weapons capable of destroying even the whole world. You don't find anything about them in the internet. When you understand all these destructive components of the bloody war machine worth hundreds of trillions of dollars, what exactly is the madness with the Yankees is the question that comes to the mind. Answer me, Donald. What is the meaning of this Yankee madness? It is nothing but your stupid ego and the insatiable filthy greed, isn't it? You guys do not respect humanity and also do not respect justice, is the message we get. We are supremely intelligent human beings compared to the rest of the species. With intelligence, we are supposed to live in peace and harmony among us and reach an unbelievable standard in civilization, since the ultimate goal in life manifestation is the intelligent individual emerging as an entity of life through the intelligent being. I wanted to know what exactly life is and how exactly life emerged, and I have published my indisputable findings in an e-book under the title of The Ultimate Definition of Life and How Life Emerged Spontaneously in my website www.ipromiseyourosegarden.com. It is where all my work is published except this written speech. You can download a copy to understand the truth about the life and pull your life together to go through your destiny. Understanding life is most important for all human beings since intelligent life is a recurring phenomenon and your next birth depends on your conduct in this life. And that is to say, loosely. My book is priceless because nobody else in the world knows what life really is. So you may spend $4.99 US to guide your destiny through samsara, the recurring series of birth and death, instead of believing in ending up in heaven after death to ruin your destiny. Well, going back to the boring business of the warring nation America has developed their troops and they have deployed their troops, and that means position their troops ready for action in 151 countries out of the 197 countries in the world. How is that? What is this madness? How they manage to creep into other countries to deploy their troops in their is by devious means, generally by approaching the traitors in politics who would sell even their mothers to foreign powers by taking massive bribes. Such traitors accepting multi-million-dollar bribes give access to the Yankees to use their countries as if such land are the latest states of the so-called United States of America, so that the Yankees can do whatever they like without being subject to the laws of the foreign lands. How is that? That is exactly what some traitors in Sri Lankan politics have done in recent years. However, shame on you Yankees. You must get out of my motherland and from all the countries. I will come back to this matter after the publication of this video to fix a time frame to evict the American troops from all the countries. So hurry up, Donald. Pull out your stinky popos from my country quickly. Stinky popo is German for stinking back. Well, aren't we intelligent beings supposed to live in peace and harmony? Why have the Yankees positioned their troops in so many countries in the world? What the hell the greedy Yankees want? They want to eat the other man's plate too, aren't they? The world is not enough, is it, Donald? The Yankees are the only people who should exist on planet Earth, is it, Donald? No wonder the absurd mindset, since it was convicted criminals deported from UK who begot your now overly proud nation some 240 odd years ago. Is that something to be proud of? Shame on you guys, brother. Talking shamelessly about making America great again means taking the country back to the days when the innocent, uneducated, extremely poor black Africans were rounded up and brought into the country forcefully by having chained them like animals at gunpoint and with the power of the whip, and inhumanly forcing them on slavery. Is it dull? Shame on you to have mentioned anything so inhuman and disgusting, man. Besides, there are over 40 million homeless people whose American dream has faded away. and they now live under plastic sheets along the roadsides of fancy cities, and more than 6,300 people are being evicted from their homes every day, I hear. That is a terrible situation, Donald. So if you like to sound sensible with your slogan, please drop the word again and say, let's make America great. And that is sensible when considering some of the problems like poverty and crime in the country that awaits to be eradicated. Have you done anything about such problems to make America great? Donald, I don't think you have. Talk sensibly, man. Don't talk with the power of the military or with the power of the money. I can make them vanish quickly and make America not great but a damn third world country in no time. For instance, there is no true justice in the world. Thus, America got away with invading many nations in the past, and Vietnam, Chile, and Iraqi invasions stand out in the living memory to mention a few. But in those few countries alone, the crimes committed by the Americans are unbelievably enormous, disgraceful, and inhuman. Invasions are heinous crimes. How can we let that happen in the world? They are primitive animalistic behavior. We humans should be ashamed of such absurd behavior in Vietnam. Alone the crimes committed by the Americans were unimaginable. And if the Americans are to pay compensations to the Vietnamese, the Americans will be going on their bumps. Donald, that is worse than the way people in any third world country would move around today. Well, yeah, and remember, it is never too late for us to establish true justice in the world and deliver justice to the victims or their dependents. Donald, no matter how far back the atrocity happened, you can imagine the effect of such action to deliver justice to the victims or their dependents on the American economy, don't you? Now, don't think that eliminating me quickly, just like you guys did in the early 70s to get rid of Salvador Allende in Chile, is the answer to this problem, because this video could be spreading my genius all over the world in minutes or in hours or else in days, but for sure. And therefore, even without any existence, even without my existence, you and your countrymen have no escape. And therefore, isn't it best to depend on my mercy, since I am the one calling for justice, and therefore I can decide what justice is for the country's concerns. Those who have kept silent regarding such issues all this time cannot have their say heard now, because besides I stepped into the world stage wearing an amazing life jacket, knowing what beasts are on stage. The life jacket I have developed is called my last will for the humanity. Since I didn't want to fail by the mankind, if I am gone without changing this absurd world, a natural phenomenon will create heaven on earth instead of the rose garden that I was promising the mankind. I will let you imagine how that would happen if you are smart enough to imagine. So my existence is vital for your existence. That is it, my friend. So please deal with me like a gentleman and recall your troops from all the countries they occupy and begin with pulling out of Sri Lanka in the beginning of 2020, and you will go down in history as the last president who did great for the mankind, irrespective of their skin tone or religion. And mind you, mankind is of one race. Well, I take no credit on this, Donald. You take the credit, and it is okay with me. I only live to serve humanity. So I would be happy, and that happiness is what I was seeking all my life. Ever since my early childhood. Think human and be humane to respect humanity, my friend. See, I am so humble to call you as my friend. The clothes we wear won't make us human beings, my friend. We got to prove it in our conduct. So let's forget the past and let us all go hand in hand to the heaven's door. Brother, kick away the absurd Yankee criminal legacy and please show your brotherhood to fellow humans to be a proud human being, my friend. Please don't deprive others of their food and happiness, my friend. Life is momentary and therefore we must learn to share with the rest of the humanity, my dear friend. Besides, we are one family, although posed in black and white and curious yellow. Don't you know the fact that when we first came out of Africa, we were nothing but black. Then those who ended up in the northern hemisphere were dying in the extreme cold during the last ice age some 30,000 years ago, since the black skin did not have the pigments needed to handle the extreme cold. And that is when natural selection came to the rescue rescue of humanity by making their black skin a lighter shade of pale by adding the missing pigments. So now your whites are superior to the blacks. Eh? What a shame, you ignorant. Don't hate your original skin color. Guys, it makes you nothing but idiotic. Therefore, let us share and respect each other to help each other where we are in the wilderness of life and nothing but feeling in the dark, not knowing what life really is, and therefore believing in a disgraceful conman's bogus god to ruin your destiny through the never-ending recurrent series of births and deaths, now known as samsara. Thanks to the great Gautama Buddha. Therefore, understand life from my book, The Ultimate Definition of Life, and embrace humanity with love and compassion and respect to each other. That is the best thing one can earn in this life, and the good karma you earn by doing so are the only things you could take with you when you depart this world. Donald, nothing else. Not your billions, not your chicks, and so on. Buddy. Now, please know that the world government will come immediately to the rescue of the innocent women and children who are being abused, and also solve the massive refugee crisis. Well, my dear friends, although you may have shed a bit of foreskin to belong to an extremist religion, we don't look down upon you. You still belong to the only human race, Homo, thus Homo sapien, like everybody else, brother. Therefore, please remember You are not Jew or Muslim, Catholic, Christian or Buddhist, etc. Or else English, Asian, American, Chinese, African, etc. But human, my dear friends, human. I have already explained how the black skin of the early humans turned white to handle the extreme cold in the northern hemisphere. And thus, I embrace you all in brotherhood of man and with the torturous human bondage that engulfed my heart some 6 decades ago and tormented my heart to this day. I shall create heaven on earth to you, earth, heaven on earth for you. Yes, of course, I can, my dear friends. I may call it rose garden with my romanticism, and yet it is paradise anew to you. Now, my dear friends, like I said before, please know that my father was not the king, and therefore I need to raise funds to organize the world revolution. But I am not asking for any donations. Instead, I shall raise the necessary funds by myself by selling copies of this YouTube video speech document, which is your stimulus to Revolt in 2020. And it will be your contribution to the creation of your fabulous new world. So if I have convinced you, please be proud to download your copy for $1 as your contribution towards the creation of your peaceful and fabulous new world, where you will be the king or the queen. By visiting my site letsrevoltin2020.com. Please visit my site time to time for further instructions on the proposed world revolution. Thank you and see you soon.